The FDA has announced it has approved a brand new drug derived from marijuana. Epidiolex is used to treat severe seizures and epilepsy. The drug contains CBD, or cannabinoidal, which is derived from cannabis. Now, CBD, for short, has the same benefits as THC, the main active chemical in marijuana, but does not produce psychoactive effects when ingested or consumed. Now, this is the first drug approved by the FDA derived from marijuana and may signal a change in drug scheduling from the DEA. So for more on this, we're turning now to Mike Papantonio. Of course, he's the host of America's Lawyer. Pap, great to see you. First, how big is this for the FDA to approve a cannabis-based drug?
Well, the good news is the FDA's decision to approve this treatment shows that they're no longer able to deny the science that shows us that cannabis oil treatments are incredibly effective at treating certain kinds of conditions. For so long that we didn't know, because the DEA wouldn't even allow people to test drugs like this. The science and the trials that have been done showing that these marijuana-derived oil-type medications can treat seizures, they've been piling up for years. As a matter of fact, full disclosure, I own part of Charlotte's Web, which is one of the first cannabis oils that was actually used to treat epilepsy, and the name of the bill that was passed in Florida was called the Charlotte's Web Bill, which gave us the right to be able to sell this type of oil. This decision is going to allow people to get prescriptions for cannabis oils that will now be covered under their insurance plans, which is a huge step for these patients that have been having to pay out of their pocket for these treatments. And it should also give the agency the ability to fast track the approval of similar kinds of treatments derived from cannabis. It's going to open a whole new market of treatments for seizures, pain relief, inflammatory conditions. This is one of the most effective ways to help combat the opioid epidemic that we're faced with. As a matter of fact, they're now finding that they can use marijuana to treat opioid addicts. So I think this is really important, especially for an organization that is just so abysmal as the FDA. You know, I've talked about the FDA for so long that it's just such a dysfunctional organization. But I think they're always pushed by corporate America. That's what happened.
You're saying that this is setting kind of precedents for everything else to follow that could solve a lot of other issues that America has, like you said, with the opioid epidemic. But what sort of legal thresholds would the scientists behind this or advocates and attorneys, what sort of legal threshold do they have to overcome for cannabis to meet before the FDA could approve this sort of medicine?
Well, we have a misunderstanding about the FDA across the board. The FDA is not really most of the time driven by really what I would call pure science. It's driven mostly by corporate influence. That's part of the problem here. This is what we have to worry about. Big Pharma isn't happy about the idea of being able to use being able to use cannabis oil unless it comes through one of their pharmaceuticals. Major drug companies were late to the party on medical marijuana, and the studies show that they're already losing about $4 billion a year as more and more areas allow for medical marijuana and this cannabis oil. So the FDA's decision is rarely really driven by just pure hard science. As you may know, these are the kind of cases I handle all the time. Pharmaceutical cases. It's abysmal the way the FDA makes decisions.
But Mike,
most of the time,
Mike, what's going to happen? What's going to happen, though, if the DEA refuses to classify anything with a marijuana extract, including CBD? They still call it a Schedule I substance, which means they don't count this as having any sort of medical benefits. How are the two government agencies going to square this? Or are people going to get thrown in jail for having a prescription?
Well, they're now allowing some scientific research type of exceptions to what you're talking about, but that's the type of thing that's held us up for so long. But these exceptions are going to continue to grow as we find more and more states actually legalizing marijuana. At some point, the feds have to say, okay.
And real quickly, Mike, I'd like to get your thoughts on Justice Kennedy, his plans to retire next month.
Well, good riddance. You know, he was always viewed as this swing vote who was going to change things. Not really. He's never been a swing vote. He's been a conservative. So no big loss.
All right. I guess we got to wait and see who takes his seat. Thank you so much, as always, sharing your expertise with us. Mike Papantonio, host of America's Lawyer, right here on RT America.